Yeah, I'm just gonna put this up. This is the name I have to go by. That I was kidnapped, and I've got all this put up there and given another name, and still trying to get my real name back. So Peggy Ann Dempsey Childers' name I have to use. I want to put this up along with all the YouTubes and Facebook. I didn't bring myself to this country. I was kidnapped, and all kinds of crimes committed and still are against me. Uh, the only ride I can get right at the moment is LOA, and that's League for Helping Older Americans. Uh, I don't know their total function, but I know that they're supposed to help the elderly. Well, I'm 79 years old. These people here in Roanoke, LOA, know exactly about me, what's happened to me, or at least a great portion of it. So I'm down to they're the only ones that I can get to take me to the doctor or grocery store or to pick up pharmacy, prescription, and what else do they do? Anyway, they started being nasty. I think they have other functions. They've used the fact that I've had to move around from place to place, which is not my fault. If you look at the YouTubes and Facebook, that's what I'm telling you. Some things have to be stopped, and I have to be able to get a place to live. Where, I keep putting Larry Flint Hustler magazine up. I ran in a campaign to replace a doctor I'd written about, and I was out there in October twice at his home in Bel Air in '83 in that campaign. So I'm not just a little sleaze bag running around here screwing people out of money. It's me that's a victim, hook, line, and sinker. How dare LOA or anyone else to talk to me and accuse in an accusing manner like they've done me? It is hideous. When I was out at Flint's, when I left out there and he furnished me a car for a year, and God knows the crimes committed against me, um, he said something that there would be no room in the inn. Um, After I had been flown out there and I spent the night, well, a couple of nights in October during the campaign. So, I walked out the door, and then I get up here in Roanoke, and this is where Mr. Flint was sued by Jerry Falwell in the parody. Well, he showed me the parody that he was going to put up in Hustler back then, and I wondered why, because I just met him. And so he's here with Falwell suing him, and it became later a freedom of speech thing, and the movie of Larry Flint was made. And I'm living up on the Appalachian Trail, starving and freezing then. So, what this friggin' country has done to me is beyond anything you can ever imagine. I have been treated like the criminal. Mr. Flint said no room in the inn. It kind of like they knew what was going to happen to me. And at the same time, an FBI agent, Malcolm Barber, I'm sure he does, if he's alive, doesn't mind me using his name. He called me after that campaign, and they had an endorsement, and a really good one, made by Mr. Flint in April of '84. And I was up in D.C. and still had the car. And I said to Mr. Barber, I said, well, because they weren't supposed to, as far as I knew, I'd been trying to turn the car in and to call where I'd used to get through and put right through. And suddenly they don't hang up on me. They're just transferring me, and I never get to talk to him. So I haven't talked to him since. But anyway, supposedly they didn't know where I was. Well, here I am in Fairfax, or was it Falls Church, Virginia? Falls Church. And I've got an apartment. And I get I was sent the Hustler magazine, so they knew where I was. It was sent from Minnesota, St. Cloud, Minnesota, I think, the Twin Cities anyway. So they knew where I was. And then Mr. Barber called me, and he said, "This is Malcolm Barber from Hustler magazine." And I said, "Well, you're the FBI agent that I knew back in Atlanta, Georgia. And this is back when I got the letter ongoing investigation, national security involved. I'm not going to say anything against the FBI there. I don't know about others, but I know that part of them are the reason I'm still alive. And yeah, he called from Hustler magazine. So Hustler, you would get the gist that they are run by the FBI. So you can get the connections. Now I have been raped over this whole mess because of who I am, kidnapped, my kids destroyed, and LOA, who will not furnish me food because I have to pay rent that takes every penny that I have, and there's nothing left over. $15 food stamp when they dish out food stamps to anybody, take food to people. LOA furnishes food to people. They use the thing when they made me beg, friggin' beg. Now then, when I've asked for food, they'll say, well, you have to move around so much. We can't handle that. We can't help you get a place to live. Well, I'm just shut down. It's plain and simple. And now then it looks like time to go from Roanoke if I can get out of here. But being treated like a criminal, deprived of everything. And by the way, I sent them another payment. I pay for the rides. Not all the cab, but as far as I know, most people do not pay for the rides they get through LOA, the taxi rides to doctors. You're supposed to get 2 to get groceries, which is a joke with me. $15 doesn't go far, does it? Okay, it's unbelievable. I called her just now. I'm going to put her name up here. I mean, you have to hear this whole mess. They are afraid of this mess, and to be treated like a common criminal and worse is unbelievable. I called because I've got an infection now in my ear. All that was going on, that I've lost part of my hearing, a good bit of it. But this is different. It looks like an insect bite, and it's where it is that's not good. It's inflamed, and I took pictures of it, by the way, if anybody wants to look on Facebook for it and see it this morning. So that's legit. I'm not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. It's me that's the victim. Understand? Her name is Kathy West. But I don't know how many are down there, but they've been rude as hell to me from the little bit they've done. And I've paid for it when others didn't. And they all know why I'm being moved around. I'm going to go ahead and put this up here. She told me that one of the cabs couldn't take me anymore. They were nice to me. I liked them. But that their drivers had 2 heart attacks. So who's not believing what I'm saying? I haven't told Kathy West or the LOA people any of that. They had to have seen my YouTubes and Facebook about what I wrote about programming and programming the man that shot Mr. Flint, and telling about Warren Rosina Matthews, doctors, that I wrote about in the book that was unpublished. And then a letter from the FBI, June the 23rd of 79. So I haven't, I've told that on YouTube and Facebook. And now then she tells me that this cab company won't come and get me because of 2 of their drivers had heart attacks. So I'll have to get another cab. LOA gets another cab for me. I didn't go into asking her questions. I know better. I have to keep my mouth shut. That's why I put it up on YouTube and Facebook. And a friend of mine got the phone for me and showed me how to put it up because I can't get an attorney. And to get on the phone now, when I've just sent them another where there's a credit for this coming month of $20-something I didn't have, but I went ahead and paid it. And I simply called to get the doctors, get them to take me to the doctor, which they're supposed to. And I asked her because Walmart's bun sack is right up behind the Lewis Gale where my doctor is. And she comes on, and they've done this before. Well, you know you're not supposed to do that. I said, supposed to do what? Because she will. Well, first of all, I already had a prescription that was filled wrong. It was at Kroger, but Bonsack's right behind it, my doctor's office. And I'm pretty sure the doctor will write me another prescription if the infection's not gone away. And anyway, you have to make the appointment for the cab through LOA 2 days ahead. So it's going to leave me like before, that I was up there and didn't, they run me around with prescriptions and I didn't have a ride. And this is when I had the ear infection, which I've lost a lot of my hearing, most of it in this ear, part of it in this one. I put this up on YouTube. And you think for 1 minute, God help me, you've taken my children, I don't know if they're alive or dead, and to be talked to and deprived of any respect whatsoever is unbelievable. Now, these are the people, everybody else has been the same way. It's unreal if you look at Facebook and you don't get half of it, and YouTube. Okay, I didn't question further because I'm not allowed to. I'm threatened. I didn't say, what do you mean? Am I responsible for the 2 cab drivers having heart attacks? Gee, I didn't know I could do that. But she knows this is what scares the people, is who's doing this. And I wrote in the book about the Tesla files being stolen back in 30. And I wrote about they could create an illness or cure it, or make death appear of natural cause. And that dates back to Warner and Rosina Matthews, the pathologists that were gunned down. And this happened in Cobb County. Buddy Darden was the district attorney when I lived in Marietta and doing the book, and Larry Flynn is shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia. And I'm in Marietta, and then later I'm flown out to the campaign. Now, then I wrote about them in the book. They were at Larry McDonald, the congressman doctor that I wrote about. They were worked at his hospital. They knew how deaths were made to appear of natural cause, which is what I'm talking about. So they had to have read all that. I've never spoken to them about anything about YouTube, Facebook, or what's happened to me at all. So Kathy says, West, that I just talked to, that was such a nasty person. They all are. The very idea of, she told me that, well, I didn't murder anybody. I'm the messenger in all this. I've just told the truth about the book, about me, about it all. Not one lie. And to be criticized like I'm not supposed to do that. Not supposed to do what? I've already got one prescription that I can have transferred there. It's right behind them where I'm going. She said, well, you have to pay for 2 rides. I said, that's fine. Go ahead and charge me. Only I didn't say it in that manner. I have to be meek and mild and very respectful to these people who are screwing me over. And that's over and out. I don't have a ride, really. I've got to go to the doctor. I'm going to go ahead. And God help me that the law ever works for me. You better believe it. And it would take God himself to do it, because nobody else can. You can't repay me for 1 moment of this hell you put me in. Now, maybe you all should call her up. And Kathy, transportation, ask her why the cab, that's Early's cab, and I like him. I don't want to say anything bad about him. But that was the reason she said they had to get Yellow Cab, which they use anyway, because 2 of his drivers had heart attacks, and he couldn't take me. His cab company couldn't take me anymore. So I had to, LOA had to use the other one, Yellow Cab, for me. Now then, I'm going to say this before I get off here. Back when I managed to get into Edinburgh retirement here in Roanoke, they told me I was having to leave, and they told me that I was paying for what my family did to the Jews in the Holocaust. So if you want to read about what's been done to me, just a part of it, go ahead. I haven't committed a crime. Step by step, these people have committed the crimes. What was going on at Edinburgh is criminal. Got so many crimes that add up just there.